This episode is powered by Safety FM.
This podcast is being sponsored by safetyconsultantblueprint.com.
In this episode, we're going to speak to a former student of mine, Kathy Freeman, and we're going to talk about some of the things she looks for when she's hiring a safety consultant, and also some tips regarding management of other safety consultants that she is over as the director of safety. And then we'll also speak a little bit more about some tips for training.
Do you feel that your knowledge would be better served if you are your own boss? Your knowledge can help more people improve their workplace safety. Most of what you know may be wasting in a job that limits what you can do for the overall health and safety of workers. Now is the time to start your own business while you're still working for your current employer. Start your own safety consultant business with the Safety Consultant Blueprint course. Get your business legal in just a week. Brand yourself as an authority in safety, even on a shoestring budget. No more stressing about how to price your services fairly, but still make a profit. And experience the amazing feeling of being your own boss. This 100% online video course is instructor-led and will give you detailed steps to keep you focused as to what to do next to grow your business. Lay out strategies to keep you maximizing your marketing and networking efforts. And explain how to get money in between clients. Register today at safetyconsultantblueprint.com and enter the code PODCAST.
I'm Kathy Freeman. I'm with HEI Civil. We currently have around 800 employees spread throughout the United States. So I manage all three organizations for safety for them.
All right. And you guys are specifically safety consulting, or do you guys do site safety as well? And what kind of services?
Yeah, so we are actually our own site specific. So we have each company has their own safety manager or field safety manager, and each company as it grows will also have field managers and field site safety specialists that manage that. So the scope of work can range anywhere from we do primarily civil work, but we're the general contractor for pipe, bridge work, utilities, concrete, structural concrete. We also do a lot of dirt and earth moving. We do a lot of paving. We are a national account with Caterpillar, so we are one of, I think, 24 of the national accounts. So it's kind of a big deal to have that. We own over 300 pieces of equipment in the state of Colorado. So we have the largest fleet in the state of Colorado for owned equipment. And the big deal with that is that we service everything in-house. Generally, they'll have Caterpillar services or they'll have someone outsource it. So we manage that in-house. And so we're trying to grow the other organizations in Charlotte and Austin to reach that state that we are in here in Colorado. And so we are in our safety team, we're challenged on a daily basis because we are not only responsible for the 1926 standards, but we're also responsible for our fuelers, our fleet. We've got to work with our DOT specialists where we've got to worry about hazardous materials, DOT, 1910 standards. So I try and staff my staff with a variety of safety professionals. So here in Colorado, we have a pretty different background. We've got one guy who specializes in fall protection, and he knows a lot about cranes. And so when we acquired the bridge division, we decided we needed someone who knew a little bit more about that. And so I also use a consultant for that as well, because I need to certify my crane operators and get them involved with that. And then we also have another gentleman who's heavy on the excavation side, who's got the background with the excavation, trenching, and different concrete things. And then we also have someone with the carpentry skills that stepped in. And so our safety teams is challenged on a daily basis on what we need to know, but they've done a pretty good job of, I try and get them to train in their specialty areas, but overall we make sure that we as a group attend, all of us have confined space, all of us have the trenching excavation, all of us have the OSHA classes that we need to be able to do our job. So we try and keep everything in-house as much as possible, but we still outsource quite a bit. So,
yeah. A lot of people that listen to the show are actually safety consultants looking to find the mindset of the client. So when you're looking for a consultant, what are like your little checklist that you go through that you say, oh, this is a good consultant because of this? So what do you do?
I do. Attention to detail. My inspections, I am pretty hard on my safety team for inspections, and they're pretty thorough with their inspections. And when I hire a consultant to go out to do inspections for me, and I get reports that find little to no errors, that bothers me, because I know that I intentionally send them to some of my worst crews to see what they will find, to test them the first time or two that they're out there. So my inspections and then the follow through on the inspections are definitely a big deal to me. I also look for reminders and just to keep in touch, because it's their job to keep in touch with me, not me to touch base with them as they're working for me on a contract. They should update me every month with what they're doing and what's the next plan. And I do work with my consultant very well. I like the fact that I use him in a variety of ways. I have a contract with him. And I hired him primarily for the crane services, but I've been able to use him when I don't need him for a crane. I've used him for rigging classes, or he's done a site inspection for me. And so that's been nice to have at least a few options with him, and I'm not locked into certain things. So that's been nice.
Oh, that's good, because that's going to help a lot of people, because you truly, attention to detail is always something that you got to do as a consultant, because you're getting paid for, first and foremost, what you know, and then secondly, how you can protect your client. So you're not paying attention to details, you're in trouble, right?
Well, and in Carolina, I've not hired anyone to do the consulting just yet, because I've not found a safety manager for that position. And, with consultants, I don't always get that, the personal, with the guys in the field. And I really like that the company that I've hired now, they're very engaged with my employees. They're very interactive with them. They're not cops. They don't go out and inspect. They go out, and we have the mindset of, if you find an issue, of course, we're going to document it, but, explain to them what you found and walk them through it, because we have the mindset here that people do things for one of two reasons. Either they don't know the right reason, or they don't want to follow the rules that have been given to them. And so if you're out there and we find something that's wrong, we coach them and talk to them about it. And a lot of consultants have the mindset, I'm going to go out and do an audit and then just turn around and leave. And the firm that I use right now, and I went through three different people, and the firm that I use right now, they go to my site and they coach my employees and they talk to them. And that's a very big deal to me, because we try and keep that mindset whenever we go out in the field. If you find a problem, you need to have a solution. It's not just find the problem and walk away. So,
yeah. And that's truly a pet peeve of mine. It's one of those things where I see a lot of consultants fall into that, and they don't get personal with their client. So in turn, it's like one of those feelings where it's a one and done, if you will. And I don't like that, because, for instance, I always say you want a 4X relationship with any company, so you could have at least 2 to 3 other times, maybe even that fourth other time that you interact with that company. And therefore, you're getting to know them, you're getting to understand them, you get to see people. If you're there for more than one time in training, you get to know, the crew, as they call themselves, usually in places. So that helps too. And then you could truly talk to someone and say, hey, Bob, hey, Bill, hey, Sue, you're not supposed to be doing that. And you've been in my class.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because I don't interact with the consultants. They primarily stick to the field and they work with the guys. And so I know our employees when they come through the door. Every Friday we have orientation, and it's my job and my safety team's job to be front and foremost. So every Friday we're all in the orientation. We meet every person that comes through the door. And so, whenever we build that relationship, we know them. And so we'll call them and I'll ask them, hey, the consultant was out there. How did you feel when they were out there? And so I'll get feedback from them. And that to me is tenfold to have that feedback versus getting a report that's black and white for me. Because I can get anyone to give me that report, but if I can get someone to connect with my employees, that's definitely, that's my win-win right there. So
yeah, that's great. And I know you guys went through one of my classes I did in Denver for the OSHA compliance class and everything. So that was really great getting to meet your crew when you guys trained with me. For yourselves, when you're doing the same thing for your company, how do you guys approach training your own people?
So my background is training and development. That's what I did before I got into safety. And I try and stick to the points that I learned in that and trying to get people to interact. And so I go with the motto, see it, hear it, speak it, think it, do it. And so when we're teaching the classes, I have the guys that work for me put those into play whenever we're doing the class. I'm sorry?
Slow that down. What was it?
See it, hear it, speak it, think it, do it.
All right.
Yeah. So we try and stimulate them on multiple levels. And so I challenge my team whenever we're doing training, take it to the field. Whenever I came here to the office, we used to do quarterly meetings in a hotel, and it was stuffy. And I noticed that the guys in the field just weren't receptive to it. They didn't want to interact. And so we take a lot of our training now to the field, and we do a lot of one-on-one in the field with them and break the groups down. We do multiple classes to make sure that we've got that interaction and that personal touch. And so we also let them design their own hard hat stickers and do little competitions with the guys in the field with that when we're doing those classes. And so we try and get that buy-in that way because it's easy to stand in a classroom and practice fall protection, but to buy a mannequin and they see that you've invested in a mannequin and you take that mannequin into a confined space and you take the tripod to the field and you make them physically do all of that work, it changes the dynamic of the class. And so we try and challenge our team on that level to do a lot more hands-on. So
yeah, well, that's very good because truly after a while they've seen all your pictures and they've heard all the stories. So you need to get out there and actually do something different, right?
Yeah. Well, and it's hard because like our OSHA 10, OSHA 10 is what it is, but we've also, in efforts to make our team the best of the best for trainers, we invest in their training. And so like Pedro goes to a training conference in the beginning of the year in Orlando to become a better trainer, and it will improve him. And then I've also enrolled Pedro where we have to do outside of class, we have to do extracurricular. So he actually works with the AGC locally here to train people for the OSHA 10s, and he teaches a few times a month because the more that you train and the more that you're in front of people, the more comfortable you become and the more natural you are, so we definitely try and challenge them in different levels. So
yeah. Now, tell me more about your resources that you use, because everything that you're saying to me seems like you have some sort of system in place or something to keep yourself not only organized, but then to find what's coming up and predictive and everything. So are you guys using resources for that?
In regards to our safety system or just for me as a manager?
If it's different, then I'd like to know if it's different, but maybe your safety system in general, how do you guys keep all your forms together and then your JSAs if you do those?
Okay. I use, I'm pretty fortunate that the company that I work with we don't just walk the walk. And I know Micro always says safety third, which is kind of funny, but we actually use HCSS, and we've invested quite a bit of money in that system. And so I keep everything in there, from our training to our JHAs to our toolbox talks. And then my team meets weekly to review everything. And then I've also brought in an internal company to hire, which is ATI Solutions. Basically what that is I have an in-house physician to help me manage our injury management for workers' comp and physical therapy. And before they go to the clinic, they can do a FaceTime with her. And so we have that application as well. And so to keep the team organized, we meet once a month. I meet with my safety manager here in Colorado once a month, as well as my Catherine, who's my physician on staff. And then the team, we meet once a week. And so in that, we talk about current events and, if they're looking at JHAs. And in the morning, typically a morning for my safety team is they've got a training in the morning on one site. We schedule that out for a month. We put a topic in and we schedule that out for a month. And then my team also will go over JHAs and look through to see what's going on currently in the field. For instance, we just had that big snowstorm. So we have 70 active jobs right now spread throughout Colorado. So out of those active jobs, we can see who's currently working this morning through that system.
Yeah.
So they'll look through the system and find out who's where and what they're doing and whether or not they want to go to that site. Maybe we've got a complex job going on and they want to go to that project instead of someone who's just doing snow removal. So they'll look at the JHAs that way and plan out their day. Weekly, we review all their inspections and we review the ongoing items in the field, our current events for injuries, and just make sure we close out cases. And then quarterly, we review what they're doing, what's their professional development, what's their upcoming for right now. We've got 2019 ending, and I'm planning 2020's conferences and goals and what I want them to do for the beginning of the year. One of the things that I've noticed as a director, that people automatically, it's funny because the minute they get into safety, they want that CSP. And that's the first thing they say, I want my CSP, I want my CSP. And as I've been hiring for, Austin, Texas, and as I've been hiring for Charlotte, I'm not looking for someone with that CSP. I'm looking for someone who has that COS or the COS-M or field work or boots to the ground. Mm-hmm. Because to me, it seems like anyone can go take the CHST and go take the CSP, and then they want to do safety, and that has no value to me. And so as we, with my team, it's funny because I've got them on a growth plan, and the first one, I had one guy 3 years ago tell me he was going to do his CHST, and I actually put him on a different growth plan, and he was a little bit frustrated with me at first. But he's doing better now because of it, because we're investing in 5-day classes and not a test that he's going to take right now, and I see the win-win to both of them. But, as I met with the owners and we interviewed candidates, I interviewed across the board CSPs, CHSTs, and guys with no certifications but had their OSHAs that they could teach the OSHA 10s and 30s. And we went with the people who had the capability of being able to teach the 10s and the 30s and knowing trenching, excavation, and having that type of background versus going with the CHSTs and the CSPs. So it's just interesting. As I put people on growth plans and we talk about their upcoming years, they think I'm just going to jump them right into that test, and I don't. I steer a little bit away from it and go a different direction. So yeah,
makes sense. And I'm glad you brought that up, because that's one of the frequently asked questions is, what do I have to do to get a designation for being a safety consultant? But generally, when you're a safety consultant, you should have experience. And I said that's always the first thing you need is your experience. But then CSP has the lion's share of recognition only because of the marketing value. And yes, it's a hard test to take. And it does show that you have some sort of proficiency in test taking and proficiency in understanding the material. But the retention doesn't actually work until you're in the field, right?
Right.
So that's where I tell people, well, if you're going to do a designation, do one of the designations that'll actually interact with other people. It'll get you through a class that you're going to be doing some workshops and everything. So at the end of that, then your designation, you'll also have a slight bit more experience to it too.
Yeah.
I mentioned that.
Yeah, and I do. So the consulting firm that I use now, I know one of the gentlemen in there has a CHST, but the guy that I met with initially, his background was cranes and rigging, and, he had a safety background in that and trenching excavation, but his is all boots to the ground, and he can relate to the field. And to me, that is just so much more valuable than the credentials. He can relate to my field and he can back it. He's got, his certifications, of course, for what he does, but it definitely is interesting because I did have one firm where it was all CSPs and CHSTs, and, they just weren't able to relate to the field, and that gives them zero credibility when they get out there. So.
Yeah, that's true. And I find that a lot, and it's great when you do find the CSP that does have that experience.
Yes.
And ability,
Yeah.
and then you're like, all right, this guy, so just keep him.
Yeah. Yeah.
I truly feel like that. And, both of us may have a little bias because of the costs, the certified occupational safety specialist and the COSM, which is certification of occupational safety manager. And I teach for those two classes. But overall, the students that I keep up with, and you're one of my past students, so I love seeing what you do, and it's awesome. But the students that we still interact and keep up with, I really could see the trajectory of them from when they first got into class to what they're doing now. I started this in I think 2012 or 2013 or something. I started teaching the class, and now we're in 2019 as the date of this recording. So it's been a while. I've been seeing a lot of students, and my students do good. I'm okay with that.
They do. Well, it's interesting because I put Pedro in the class, and he called me after a couple of days, and he said, I had no idea this class was going to be this hard. He said, and he likes to be challenged. And so he really enjoyed the class. He said, and he'd been in safety for a couple of years, but it definitely opened his eyes in a different direction. So it was good for him because he was one of them that wanted the CHST. And I'm sure and we're on track for him to get it, but he definitely, it took the blinders off. He just went, wow, this is so different than what I was thinking it would be, so. Yeah,
that's great. And as a question for some people who have thought about getting into training and doing their own training centers or anything like that, do you have any tips for those type of people that says, all right, I want to get out there, be my own boss, do a training center, and I know your background is in that. So what are your tips for people who want to do that?
Couple of things. I know when for on both sides of the coin, when I used to do it and where I'm at now, it's always snow day training, it's always rain day training, weather day training. And so I would plan ahead and watch the weather. One of the things that I used to do as a consultant, if I would watch the weather, and if I knew snow was coming in 2 days before or a week ahead, or I would try and plan, and I would start messaging and emailing snow day training, snow day class, or rain day, or and I had a relationship with multiple safety directors in the area where I would send them the information and say, hey, I'm going to do a snow day training. Do you want it at your facility? And I would make it custom to them at their facility. I know it's nice to have your own facility, but I know as a director and in the past, my experiences were if I could go to their facility, and especially last minute, and be able to do those types of trainings, that was a big deal. It was nice to be able to do that.
Yeah, especially if you needed to get away from your facility where everyone's going to want to come in and they're going to want to pretty much still pseudo be at work while they're supposed to be training.
Right.
Really hard.
Yeah. So I think that's a win-win for me, and not being monotoned and being able to interact with them is also a win. I've brought people in, and it was funny. I had a guy that I brought in. I actually cut his class short, and I felt bad, but he was losing the attention of my employees. And when, I'm looking at the cost of me running of the class, be considerate of the cost that it's taking, not just putting the person in the class, but the salaries of the people that are sitting in there. I've got project managers, I've got estimators, just be considerate of the people that are in your class. Because if you've got a class of 25 people and the average wage is, anywhere from 15 to 50 an hour, that's a big deal. And so just planning ahead, those types of things, and being considerate of classroom time. So.
Yeah. For proposals, do you have to do proposals in any way for some of the work that you do? And as you guys branch out to other companies, do you have any proposal tips?
We do. We have some ROSIP projects, OSIP projects, and some site-specific things that we do, depending on the company and the scope of work that we do. Are you meaning proposals from the aspect of what I do, or for the consultant?
Actually, I guess it would probably be more beneficial. My knowledge on anything, yes, but I guess for the audience, the beneficial would be if they have to write a proposal to a company such as yourself. What would give them a winning proposal to say, all right, this person stands out versus this other one I just got?
Well, I mean, to me, it's meeting one-on-one. So I would definitely go through the meeting on a personal level. But once they write the proposals, I definitely like the having the ability to pick and choose what I want and customize. So the package that I currently have now, I actually worked with them and they let me customize it to the things that were specific to my organization, because we're a very different organization in the fact that we do so many different things. We're not just a regular general contractor where we're managing subs. We actually self-perform majority of the work, and then we also have subs underneath us. And so our jobs are not just specific to one location. And so being able to have someone that can write what I need and not, pigeonhole me in a specific once a month training. And I don't use my hours that way. Sometimes I'll use, instead of the training, I'll use it for on-site work with my crane operator. And so maybe we notice that, my crane operator is still green. We're going to do a pretty significant pick. I want to use my hours this month for that instead of training. And so flexibility is definitely an eye catcher for me, so that I'm not locked in. And so my consultant, it's interesting because my crane operator and my bridge foreman will actually talk to my consultant more than I do. And so if he's not doing a training, he's on site doing a pick with them. And so having that flexibility is big for me. Yeah. Well, good. It was nice to see you.
I know. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good Friday. Yeah, it is Friday.
Yeah, I'm just packing and heading to Houston in the morning.
Oh, good. Well, have a good trip.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Hi, everybody. Todd Conklin. I know lots of you get your information while you drive down the road or sit on planes or sit in meetings and look interested. And now you should know that 3 of my books are available for your listening pleasure on Audible. With the help of Jay Allen and Safety FM, we've produced 3 of the books: Workplace Fatalities, The 5 Principles of Human Performance, and my very first book, Simple Revolutionary Acts, and they're available now where you get audiobooks.
Welcome back to the Safety Consultant Podcast with Sheldon Primus, and I want to thank you for listening to this podcast. If you haven't yet, can you please just hit the like button? If there is a like button. If there's not a like button, then hit the subscribe button. I know there's one of those, right? So hit the subscribe button, subscribe so you can get up to date with any of the recordings that come out. I do these recordings on Monday, but just in case I do any of those special things that I've been thinking about doing, which is going to be those in the middle of the week podcast mini episodes, then you'll get a little notice and alert that it is coming. So go ahead and hit that. And if you can, do a comment on your whatever service that you're listening to me on. That'd be great. Let other people know that there is a show that specifically helps people who are doing safety consultant work and the business of being a safety consultant. So this week's tip of the week came out of this interview with Kathy. So I really didn't think about weather day training, and that was an awesome tip that she gave us towards the end of the interview. So if you do have any weather days where you think clients might actually need something to do with their workers, look ahead. Do your weather app or whatever you need to do, and you could see the 7-day, 10-day forecast. And in those cases, you could plan ahead and then get some work that is not planned in your calendar, but it's one of those last-minute type jobs. So that's an awesome idea, especially if you're in those areas that have frequent weather events where it makes it hard for you to do work in the field because of those weather events. So that's the tip of the week. Go ahead and become junior meteorologist. That's a tough word and a fun word to say, right? Meteorologist. And, if you ever watch an LA Stories, which that's a great movie, you got to see an old school movie with Steve Martin when he actually was a weatherman and he faked the weather for Southern California because he says it never changes. And then it was supposed to be dry and sunny and it ended up raining. Gets fired because he faked the news. But that's a funny movie. Don't look at that guy's broadcast. Look at one of the ones that are actually true. And use that broadcast to help you decide, hey, this could be a weather day, and let's reach out to my clients, give them phone calls, let them know I could do a nice 4-hour class. And when you're calling them, go ahead and get like something in mind of what class you want to promote. Always ask, just in case there's something on their mind. Hey, what's on your mind? What would you like to see a class on? If you don't have anything, I could do a class that's on an OSHA compliance topic that you need to do anyway. Or I could do a class on something that was related to a recent accident that you had. Whatever it is, promote it to them. Make sure that you give the client what they want, but you'll also make sure you get the price and everything else ready so that they know exactly what they're going to be getting and how much it's going to be as far as price for them and the time frame and everything else. And I always suggest having certificates and wallet cards. And I do use a service called Wallet Card. So you can look at the episode. I can't remember the name of the episode, but it's my Wallet Card episode. But you could also go to safetyconsultant.us. And you can see Wallet Card prominently mentioned there as well. And I do want to mention before we go that we will be opening the Safety Consultant Resource Group. And this is going to be found at safetyconsultant.us. So safetyconsultant.us. In that group, you're going to have royalty-free pictures that you could use for your presentations. You're going to have templates that you could use for your safety business. So those are templates that you could adjust and you could use for written programs or templates that you could adjust and use for other aspects of your business, including a proposal template. And I have those available. And the resource group is also going to be interactive. So you'll have lessons there that you can learn more about the business of being a safety consultant and the interaction between other safety professionals that are consultants just like yourself. And you can just ask each other questions and things that you may need to know. And I'll be there, obviously, to help guide everybody. So you will have a way to get your business not only kick-started, but also a way for you to grow your business through expanding your knowledge, expanding your reach, networking with other people that are doing what you're doing. So that's the goal of this. It'll be launched Black Friday. So go to safetyconsultant.us and /join, and you will be able to join the waiting list. So there is a waiting list right now. So go ahead and get yourself on the waiting list. And after you do, then you will get emails to let you know when we're ready to go. But launch date will be Black Friday. All right, so I'm looking forward to seeing you on the Safety Consultant resource page at safetyconsultant.us. So have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you next Monday.
This podcast is being sponsored by safetyconsultantblueprint.com.
This episode has been powered by Safety FM.